Certainly, we consider this entire area of sustainable crops for economic development one of vital importance to this country. We know that sustainable economic development through alternative crops is going to require a really concentrated effort of scientists, engineers, in industry, academia, and leaders in the government. And we look forward to this forum providing a suitable starting point for our future support of work in this area.
7 years ago, we had a vision of a natural fibers business, an alternative crop for our farmers, and a crop that would be good environmentally. And in the year 2000, we believe that vision still holds good. We've grown 28,000 acres. I added up on the back of an envelope just now in the 7 years that we've been going. So we've had a bit of experience. We're planting April, May time, and we're harvesting August, September. And gradually, as we've grown it, the whole licensing environment has relaxed. So planting in early in sort of mid-spring time, soil temperature is about 10 degrees centigrade at that stage. And hopefully you get off to a nice start like that. It's a very rewarding crop to grow from a farming perspective. This is something you're going to stick in the ground, and it's going to grow to about 10, 12 feet over the course of 3 months. We're using no pesticides on the crop, no herbicides, because planted into a good seed bed and emerging quickly and evenly, hemp will swamp out and suppress any weed growth, compared with any other arable crop that certainly I've ever been involved with, and absolutely minimal input of chemicals. That's what you expect to see by end of May, early June with us, a nice uniform and very rapidly developing crop. But the hemp is a very good break crop, it's a very good cleaning crop for the ground, and it's an excellent entry for the following cereal crop. So a very good break crop and fits in well with the rotation. That's what you're expecting to see come August. The leaves are starting to senesce, fall back into the ground, return some nutrient into the soil. And that's a nice picture. It just shows the cleanliness of the ground underneath the crop. Harvesting gets a little bit more tricky. You're dealing with this very tall stuff. It's as tough as old boots. It was the rope that made the English Navy great many hundreds of years ago. We initially worked with mowers or with modified rape swathers to cut the crop and then to leave it in the field for the retting process. Mowing the crop was easy, but then baling the subsequent product was difficult. So we moved from the mowing and swathing to a foraging system. We're not unique in this. The way we've done it is slightly different, but it's a similar system that's being used in Germany and in Holland. As I say, technically slightly different. What we're trying to do is to cut the crop in the field into about 16, 18-inch stems. That straight away makes it much easier to handle, much easier to turn, much easier to bale. Cut it into 16, 18-inch stems and suddenly it becomes a lot easier to handle. And it's only what we were doing in the factory anyway, where we would start cutting the crop, cutting the stems as the first part of the process. So that has run now for 2 years. The crop is dropped underneath, it doesn't go up the spout. These are modified maize harvesters, which would normally be used with us with grass and with silage maize. With the silage maize, they're cutting the crop to 3 or 4 millimeters. We've modified the cutting mechanism, so it's cutting it to 16, 18 inches, and it's making use of a machine that's on the farm that wouldn't actually be doing anything else at that time of year. So it's utilizing existing equipment, which is very, very important with developing any new crop on farms. And that's the sort of thing that we're looking for, those nice little stems, which then go through into our process. So the crop's left in the swath, either mown or foraged. It's turned, it starts to ret, it loses its green, you start getting a bit of microbial activity. Nature starts to do what we're subsequently going to finish off doing in the factory. Bit of dust blowing, so you know it's getting near. Row it up, and then in go the balers. With the old system, with the mown or swathed crops, we insisted on round baling to keep the stems vaguely aligned. With the forage crops, the other big advantage, we can now move to square bales. Square bales means double the load on lorries and a lot easier storage and handling. There's a square bale, and that will go into the farmer's barn in some sort of covered storage prior to coming into the factory. Processing, intake, apologise for that. Not going to give a lot of secrets away about our processing technique from that one, am I? Wasn't meant to be quite as dark as that. The horse bedding coming off the baler, and then the products going out. As I think Hugh said earlier, about 60% shiv going into the horse bedding, and about 30% going out as fibre. Fibre store, fibres going out on the lorries to the varying customers. Even onto containers coming across the water to here. So you can't ignore the core material. It is 60% of the product, so you've got to sell it somewhere, and that's as good a market at the moment for us. There is possibilities into the building industry, as we've heard. We're starting to look at that now. We actually believe on the volumes that we're into, we've probably got scope for a fourfold expansion in the UK on our production alone before we really satisfy where we want to be on the horse market. Once we get to that stage, then we shall move on to the building materials. Our fibre is going into blends of paper where it's being sold as an environmental paper, blends with cotton, and some of you will know that Crane in the USA market a continuum range, which is cotton and hemp. Well, some of that hemp is ours, and it's a lovely paper, it's beautiful quality paper, and we have a company that we're working with in England which is putting our hemp as a 25% blend into recycled paper, again for a printing and writing paper. The main part of that market that is generally mentioned is the auto industry. Previously that industry would have used wood, glass fibre, synthetics, or maybe tropical fibres. A whistle through an old-fashioned paper mill producing cigarette tissues. There's the pulp material. There's the Crane writing paper. I'll leave some samples out at the back at the end of the break. The non-wovens, non-woven mat. Non-woven mat on the roll. I apologise, I haven't got any samples. I was a little limited on what I could bring. I do think about bringing a door panel, but I'm afraid you're going to have to make do with a photograph of it. That I think is a Mercedes door panel. That's a BMW 5 Series door panel, which we now have long-term contracts through to both those companies. But as I say, in Germany, if you go virtually into any college, university or school, there will be a natural fibres policy, natural fibres project on the go, and 9 times out of 10 that natural fibres project will be focusing on hemp. So they have clearly made the distinction between natural fibre, industrial hemp, and any drug problem. And as I say, they are a lesson maybe to the rest of us in their whole green environmental policies. So as I say, many thanks to the German car industry, and we hope to follow it. That's the other side of that panel, and if you look closely, the fibres are there, interwoven and mixed with a resin, and then compressed out into the door shape. Insulation material, another project that's on the go, alternative to rock walls and synthetics. Very, very good insulation capacity and treated with fire retardants. Makes an ideal product. Little work being done as a GRP replacement, making reinforced panels with resins and our hemp, and that's ongoing. And just some of the GRP type products replaced with hemp. In Europe, we're now coming up to that next stage because we have orders or inquiries building up which represent a huge, huge expansion in what we're currently producing.